Palestine will be free. Free, free, free Palestine. Free, free, free Palestine. Free, free, free Palestine. Free, free, free Palestine. Genocide is the crime. Free, free, free Palestine. And protest is not a crime. Free, free, free Palestine. Can you hear the buzz, Mustafa? See that? I'm too loud. He says I'm too loud. Okay. All right, thanks everyone for coming out again. It's a really important day today as we take to the streets yet again. We know why we're taking to the streets. It's why we've been taking to the streets for the past 2.5 years and for many years before that. It's to say that we stand for a free Palestine. It's to say that we oppose the ongoing genocide that is taking place still in Gaza today. And it's a genocide taking place with the active support of our own rotten Australian and New South Wales governments. That is why we demand and why we need to keep rallying. We don't do this just because we love protesting. We do it because there's an ongoing genocide that we are standing up against. And Chris Minns and Albanese continue to buy weapons and fund the Israeli military apparatus, and they continue to send military components to the genocidal regime carrying out the atrocities every day in Gaza. All right, my name is Josh Lees. I'm from the Palestine Action Group, Sydney. That's better. Thank you, Mustafa. And of course, we'll kick off, as always, by acknowledging that we're protesting today on stolen Aboriginal land, the land of the Gadigal people, that this always was and always will be Aboriginal land. And as always, we stand in solidarity with the ongoing fight here against racism, here against the ongoing oppression of our Indigenous brothers and sisters carried on by the same state that's supporting genocide in Gaza. And of course, we'll talk more about what happened last Monday, the police brutality that we all saw against peaceful protesters. But of course, amongst those attacked by police and arrested were our First Nations activists who were on the front line in that protest. We say shame on the police for that. And I also want to shout out while I'm at it that there is going to be an important demonstration coming up on the 21st of March. Put that one in your calendar, organised by Paul Silver and the Black Caucus against the ongoing issue of Aboriginal deaths in custody, which, of course, are at record levels under this rotten Chris Minns government. So when his cops aren't out there bashing protesters, too many of them are out there assaulting and harassing and even killing Aboriginal people. All right, as I said, we're here, of course, to keep up the fight for a free Palestine and to stop the genocide in Gaza. And the last week, yet again, has demonstrated what we're up against. Probably people have seen the shocking first meeting of Trump's board of billionaires, his so-called board of peace, where all these absolute scumbags from around the world are gathering to discuss the fate of the Gaza Strip. Of course, not a single Palestinian amongst them. And of course, not a single person who cares about peace amongst them. Instead, this was a meeting of people discussing how they can continue the occupation of Gaza, how they can continue the ethnic cleansing of Gaza, and how they can profit from the ethnic cleansing of Gaza. So announced at that meeting was plans to build, for example, a 5,000 troop US military base in the Gaza Strip, plans to have 20,000 soldiers occupy the Strip, and plans to build luxury hotels, on the mass graves, effectively, of the Palestinian people, in which, of course, no Palestinians will be able to live or to afford to live. This is absolutely sick. This is the kind of sick vision of the future that these racist, billionaire, genocidal warmongers have in store for the people of Palestine. And this is why we must keep fighting for a free Palestine. And of course, all of that is going to happen in conjunction with the Israeli military, who of course are part and parcel of all of these plans as well. So that's what we're fighting for, is a free Palestine and against this sick vision. And still, unless I've missed it, to this day, the Albanese government hasn't even said that they won't join this board of billionaires. Like, it's so shocking that they won't even say no to be part of this board of which Donald Trump is the head for life, whether or not he's US president, and whose clear mandate is to, carry out genocide and profit from that. It's absolutely despicable. All right, before we go any further, I'm going to pass on to our first speaker to kick things off, who, of course, can bring home the reality of what we're fighting against better than almost anyone, and that is Shamik Badra, who's a Palestinian activist here from Gaza, and who, of course, has lost, tragically, so many of his family members to this genocide that our government continues to support. Thank you, Shamik.
Thank you. Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free Gaza! Dear friends and comrades, Isaac Herzog visit wasn't normal diplomatic event. It was a moral and political test. But this is not about the visit itself. It's about what happened during and after the visit. How protesters were treated, how voices were met, and what that tells us about the state of our democracy. We saw a red carpet rolled out of a man whose name is linked to a genocide in Gaza, and alongside we saw peaceful citizens exercising their democratic rights protests met with batons. And for many of us, this is not abstract political debate. This genocide wasn't distant from me. It was a direct cause of my own tragedy. Herzog came to Australia, a man whose name is tied to a genocide that turned entire neighborhood into ashes. We saw him signing shells that fell on civilians' homes. These shells killed tens of thousands. Among them were my family, my friends, my relatives, and my neighbors. Shame. So, when I heard that he would visit Australia, and knowing what that visit represented, I didn't begin my protest in the street. I began with the law. I went to the government. I asked for a clear accountability. I received no response. Then, when I went to the street to exercise my peaceful right to protest, what did we find? Pepper spray used against peaceful protesters. Rushing, restrictions, beating, arrests. Shame. In any democratic society, force should be the last resort, not the first message. When force is used without a clear or immediate threat, it shifts from protection to intimidation. Civilians who posed no dangers were treated as threats. When protesters are managed based on imagined risk instead of actual behavior, the democratic balance begins to erode. So we must ask, when did conscience become a security threat? Democracy is not tested by slogans. It is tested by how it treats those who distant. And in this context, and in these circumstances, racism escalates in our society. Recent statements by Hanson linking Muslim to danger are not just ordinary political opinion. When an entire religion is framed as a threat, when Muslims are presented as security risk, this is collective generalization. This is racism. Comrades and friends, we are not talking about millions of Muslims or tens of millions, not even hundreds of millions. We are talking about around 2 million people, 2 billion people, Muslim around the world. They are some of them scientists, academic, doctors, engineers, writers, artists, thinkers, people who have contributed and is still contributed to human progress. To reduce all this diversity, all this history, all this civilization into a threat, the question is, how does she place herself in the position to just 2 billion Muslims? In what knowledge? In what method? This is not serious analysis. It's dangerous simplification. It feeds fear instead of building understanding. It's a test of the state standards. Comrades and friends, we don't want division. We want cohesion. But cohesion can't be built on double standard. Yes. Cohesion requires one law, one standard, equal rights. If the law is used against the weak and ignored for the powerful, that is not justice. Comrades and friends, in these circumstances, when official doors close on Palestinians, we don't lose faith because we know there is something stronger than government, stronger than protocol, stronger than political calculations. There was something stronger. Who is it? You. You are the honest people. You are stronger. You stood with dignity. You were not afraid. You choose justice instead of silence. We rely on the conscience of the people. We trust you, not because you hold formal power, because you hold courage. Our hopes rest upon the power of the people, because you stood on the right side of the history. We believe this path will not fade. They tried to make the Herzog visit silent, but people responded from Sydney to Melbourne to Perth to Canberra to Newcastle to Wollongong to Wagga Wagga. Tens of thousands came out to say, stop injustice, arrest Herzog, despite these restrictions, despite the imbalance of power. As a Palestinian from Gaza, I am deeply proud to have friends like you standing for justice, proud of your courage, proud of your strength, proud that you didn't allow fear to silence you. You didn't march for hatred. You marched for justice. You marched for dignity. Respect to those who stood on the front lines. Respect to Palestinian Action Group. Respect to everyone who organized, endured, and didn't step back. To the people. Thank you. The people are stronger, not only because we are many. And yes, we are many, but because we stand for justice. Say it with me. We are thousands, we are millions, we are all Palestinians. We are thousands, we are millions, we are all Palestinians. Comrades and friends, no one is above the law. Herzog has left Australia. He left surrounded by protocol, but he left knowing that people, don't forget, a red carpet cannot erase accusation of inciting genocide. It doesn't erase the blood of children in Gaza. Justice may be delayed, but impunity doesn't last forever. Some airport may open for some today, but history doesn't grant immunity. Gaza will remain strong. Palestine will remain alive. Gaza, Gaza, don't cry. Palestine will never die. Palestine will never die. Palestine will never die. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shamik. My name is Jasmine. I'm a convener of Students for Palestine and a member of the Palestine Action Group. I'll be co-chairing with Josh. It's so important to be hitting the streets again after Christmas tried to rip away our right to protest for 2 months in this city. He has still not apologized for the police brutality that was unleashed on the last Monday when people took a stand against the invitation of a war criminal to this country. Shame. I'd like to say Ramadan Mubarak to everyone who is practicing, but we have to remember that in Palestine, every Ramadan is taken as an opportunity by Israel to expand their settlements, to bash Palestinians for praying at their holy sites, and take every opportunity Israel is taking to expand their settlements, which we have to stand against. We have already seen how Israel has been denying Palestinians the right to celebrate this month. So we have to remember that this Ramadan. But also, we need to call out the hypocrisy of our government for issuing statements to the Muslim community to celebrate Ramadan after what we've seen them do to Muslims praying in the streets last week. Our government are nothing but hypocrites when they say they want to celebrate multiculturalism, yet crack down on the peace movement in this city when they repress free speech on Palestine, when they try to ban our slogans. They are the ones inciting hatred and division in our communities. So we need to keep up the fight. We need to remember the fact that Israel has broken the ceasefire over 1,000 times. Our government has to stop arming Israel. They have to cut every tie with that genocidal state. And they have to continue, and Chris Minns has to resign for the outrageous police behavior last Monday. So our next speaker is Jan Al-Hafni. She unfortunately cannot be here today because she was attacked by New South Wales police last Monday. They broke 4 of her vertebrae for simply coming out against the war criminal Isaac Herzog. He should be the one who was injured and put in jail. Instead, we've seen peaceful protesters be attacked and charged. So let's give it up for Jan. We're just getting Jan on the phone. We'll just be a couple of seconds.
Okay, Jan, do you want to try?
Sure. I right to speak now?
Yep, go for it.
Hi, everybody. Wish I was there with you. I would firstly like to acknowledge the Aboriginal people as the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today, and I pay my respects to elders past and present. They are the custodians of our land, of our sea, and our community. I really wish I was there with you today, but I'm there in spirit. Please know that. I left home on the 9th of February to go to the protest. I arrived there early. I was so impressed by the amount of people that were there. I thought, oh, this is going to be fantastic. So many people speaking against a genocide are coming to our shores. There was a huge police presence, but nothing seemed untoward from the start. Everything was going smoothly. We had the speeches, and then things changed. Everything came to a standstill. People couldn't move. I was standing in the one spot for about 30 minutes. Then I saw a little gap opening up, so I moved around a little bit. I was taking some photos, walking around, minding my own business. Then all of a sudden, the police decided to unleash their brutality on everyone. It was nothing I have ever seen in my life. It was so scary and so disgusting. They just charged at people. So many people were injured. So many people ended up in hospital. Everyone was confused, not knowing what to do. We haven't witnessed this sort of brutality here in my lifetime. But what we need to remember is that this is what Palestinians and First Nations people go through every single day of their lives. And this is wrong. Chris Minns has to take responsibility for this. He's the one at the top. He's the one who organised this. He's the one who unleashed a pack of wild animals that were simply protesting the presence of a genocider in our country. During the next few days, as you know, I ended up in hospital for broken vertebrae. I did become very depressed, but not mainly about what had happened to me, but thinking about what the future would hold for the children of today. You know, thinking, where are they going to go? What's going to happen to them? What sort of world are they going to grow up in? Then all of a sudden, an outpouring of love and support came from this wonderful global community that we are all a part of. I cannot express my gratitude for being a part of this community and for everybody that has shown me their support over the last 2 weeks. It's simply been amazing. And it's all thanks to people like you that I'm pulling through this. So thank you, guys. But one thing that I've got to do is we can't sit back. We have to keep fighting. We have to make sure that the people responsible this, from Chris Minns down to the police that were there on the day, are held accountable. They have to pay the price. They should be treated like everybody else, charged and sent to jail. Yeah. What I would like to talk about, I don't want to dwell on the violence of the day because we all know what happened. We all know how it's affected us, not only here, but right across the world. Even people that weren't at the protest, friends that we have in Palestine, became so affected by what happened to us. But I'd just like to tell you a little story about a small village in Palestine called Farkar. Please look it up. They are the most amazing people that I have ever met in my life. They have so much resilience, so much samud. They are a small village. They're the first eco-village in Palestine. They are self-sufficient. They grow all their own food. They totally practice boycott and divestment. That was implemented by the children of the village. They teach their children to grow up respecting their community and knowing what their commitment to community is. If people in this village are not able to make ends meet, then everyone else comes to their aid. They're given free electricity, they're fed, they are looked after. This is what a community is, and this is what we're fighting for our children and what we have to continue to fight for. they know, they embody the meaning of the word community, and we are all part of that global community. So I know that a lot of us ask ourselves, why are we protesting? What good are we doing? I just want to read you something that was sent to my daughter by somebody that she met in 2012 in a backpackers in Spain. Just give me 1 minute while I bring it up. Okay. She says that she met my daughter in a backpackers in Spain in 2012 and spoke to her about her dad, who was Palestinian, my husband. She goes on to say that she knew nothing back then. She was totally ignorant. Since October 7, my eyes have been opened, and I honestly cannot comprehend the level of Western barbarism on display. Free Palestine, and hope you're otherwise well and that your mum makes a speedy recovery. Okay, so that's one reason why we have to continue to protest, is for education, to educate people about what is happening, because people don't know. And we're at a stage now where we have that platform. Because of the brutality unleashed on us 2 weeks ago by Chris Minns, we now have a platform where we can put this forward and help people to understand what our brothers and sisters in Palestine are going through. I'm also going to read out now something that was written from a dear friend in Farquhar. I asked him just to write what it means to him when he sees people across the world protesting. So just bear with me and I'll read that out to you. Okay, greetings from Palestine. We are sending to you from Palestine deep gratitude and pride. Your constant support for freedom, your voices in the street, your presence in demonstrations, all of it sends us a powerful message. We are not alone. Knowing that there are free people around the world who stand with us, who raise their voices for justice and dignity, gives us strength. Your solidarity is not just words. It is energy, it is hope, it is courage. It renews our determination and reminds us that our struggle is seen, heard and shared. Even in the face of injustice and occupation, your support pushes us forward. It reminds us that freedom is not a local dream. It is a universal value that unites all people. We believe together that justice will prevail, that dignity belongs to every human being, and that no one is truly free until we are all free. Thanks for our comrades and friends in Australia, and free Palestine. That's one of the most moving things I've ever read. So if you're doubting why you're coming to the protests, or you know people who are, please pass that on. It's totally spoken from the heart of people who are living through the genocide. Hey, I just want to say thank you to every single one of you. Thank you to my wonderful, beautiful family and friends everywhere who sent all the love and support to me and are truly helping me heal. Please stand proud. We are an amazing global community, and free Palestine, keep fighting. Thank you.
Give a big cheer for Jan, everyone. All right, thanks, Jan. And of course, we want to give a shout out to everyone else here or at home who was also injured by police on that night on the 9th of February. I know Linda here, for example, has been also hospitalised due to the effects of pepper spray. I know there are many, many others out there. One thing that's very important about this is, of course, we know that and thankfully, there has been announced that there will be an investigation conducted by the Law Enforcement Conduct Commission. So that's a good step. Now, of course, we need to put a lot of pressure on that commission and to keep putting pressure on in general to make sure we actually get outcomes from that. It's not enough just to pretend they've conducted some inquiry, let the police investigate themselves, make some recommendation which then gets rejected and forgotten in a year's time, 2 years' time. You know, we know how these things often go. So we need to be the force in society that's going to make sure this historic level of shocking police brutality carried out is not dead and buried and forgotten about, that we need to see real action taken in the wake of that. That means a few things. One is that everyone out there, if you haven't yet done it, who experienced police violence or who witnessed it directly themselves, needs to, well, two things. One is a bunch of our lawyers recommend you get legal advice. There was a free legal clinic, a pop-up clinic thing conducted whenever it was, a week ago, by a bunch of, wonderful lawyers. It's all free, pro bono work from this huge group of excellent lawyers who are supporting this movement. There will be another one of them coming up, so we'll post it from our social media. It's confirmed. Yeah, next Saturday. Next Saturday there'll be another one of those free pop-up legal clinics. I'm not sure if the venue's been announced yet, but so if you're someone who is in that category, you experienced anything from the 9th of February, you can go and get free legal advice there. Also, people should lodge their complaints with the Law Enforcement Conduct Commission investigation. We need to absolutely get everything in there so it's even harder for them to try to sweep this under the carpet. And we need to keep demanding, as Jan said so eloquently, accountability for the police themselves, but also, of course, for those who gave the orders, those who run this show, Chris Minns, the police minister, Yasmin Catley, and Mel Lanyon, the police commissioner. They're the ones who created this scenario, both by sending the cops in to attack people. They created that scenario through their extreme anti-protest framework, the legal framework and the political framework, which they had been setting up for weeks in advance and for months in advance, and obviously with the most absolutely outrageous lack of any real justification, and we've all seen the lies from Chris Minns still to try to justify the police brutality since that day. The lies that somehow we, the protesters, brought it on ourselves, this outrageous lie, or the lie that the hypothetical he keeps throwing out there, can you just imagine if the police had not brutalised people? What would have happened? I'll tell you what would have happened. We would have had a peaceful march through our city like we've done for 2.5 years. And like we're going to do today. That's what would have happened. But of course, for Chris Minns and for the political establishment who were busy touring Isaac Herzog on a propaganda tour for Israel, that would have been a disaster for them. That prospect of mass peaceful protests around this country destroying their attempt at a PR tour for genocide, that's what they saw as a disaster, and that's why they sent their goons in to attack and brutalise and arrest and pepper spray people. And of course, it's just so crazy that Chris Minns is not called up on these lies more often, especially when they're so blatant. Like he tries to make out like we were going to go and storm the ICC or something. We were literally trying to march in the opposite direction. That's what we were calling for the entire time. It's obscene. So that's Chris Minns and why we continue to call for accountability from all of them. The next, one other thing in relation to that is, of course, that we are still engaging in our constitutional challenge to Chris Minns' anti-protest laws. So that's going to be heard this Thursday in the New South Wales Court of Appeal, just over there. That case is being brought by us in the Palestine Action Group and the activists from the Black Caucus. We'll see what happens on that Thursday. If we can win that case, obviously it would be a huge blow to Chris Minns and everything he's done. His whole cynical attempt to exploit the tragedy of the Bondi attack to instead blame the Palestine movement, crack down on our democratic rights, and to crush this protest movement. All without any justification whatsoever, because we know Chris Minns has been trying to ban our protests for over 2 years now, and not just us, trying to ban all protests. So that'll be an important case. There's going to be a rally outside the court, if anyone can make it, 9 a.m. Thursday morning, outside the Supreme Court building just there. So come along and show your support for that court challenge. Just so everyone knows, one of the outrageous things that the government's lawyers, i.e. the government, is trying to argue in that case is, now that we haven't extended the protest ban for another 2 weeks, therefore you shouldn't even have the right to bring this case. It's all over now, so you don't have legal standing anymore. This should all just go away. Even though they're keeping the laws on the books, even though they've already used these laws many times to take away our rights in the last couple of months, even though they've given move-on orders, prevented our rights from protesting, now they're trying to say, basically, what they're saying is we can just pass unconstitutional, anti-democratic laws whenever we want, as long as, we kind of wind them up and delay your actions in the courts long enough so that you can't challenge them. And then we'll move on to the next one and the next one and the next one. That's Chris Minns' plan. All right. I also wanted to just say, well, firstly, if anyone's lost a watch, there's a watch up here. Come get it. And finally, and Jasmine's already talked about this, but it's very important, the police brutality that we saw meted out against everyone, and especially Minns attacking Muslim people in prayer, is even more outrageous given this huge rise in Islamophobia. And we've got to say and send a very clear message to everyone out there, especially during Ramadan, that myself am a non-Muslim, and I want to send the message, as I'm sure many of us do, that we stand with the Muslim community against this disgusting Islamophobia. 100%. We know where it's coming from. It's coming from usually the same people that have supported genocide in Gaza, from the same people who always want to use racism for their own rotten political careers and agendas. Pauline Hanson has the nerve to say there are no good Muslims. What an absolute disgrace. Well, we say there are no good Pauline Hansons, and there are no good One Nation members. That's a racist party that needs to be combated everywhere. And of course, it's not just coming from One Nation, it's coming from the Liberal Party, and it's coming from the Labor Party. Years of racism and Islamophobia whipped up over decades now. Over decades and decades, always to justify more wars, more imperialist atrocities, more clampdowns on our rights here, more division, and more attacks on everyone else's rights as well. So we need to stand clearly against racism in all these forms. Of course, they're targeting Muslims today, but we know this is part of a broader attack on immigrants and all the rest of it coming from these far-right, rotten political parties here and around the world. And we've got to say the real enemy, of course, is not an immigrant, it's not a Muslim, it's the billionaires, it's the Chris Minns, it's the Albaneses, it's those waging genocide. They're the ones who are a threat to our way of life, not anyone else, just like us, trying to live a decent life in a rotten world wherever we are on this planet. On that note, I'm going to pass over to our next speaker, who is Mark Gillespie. Now, we've talked a bunch about police brutality, and we've been talking about how this is some of the worst police brutality we've seen for decades. Perhaps the last clearest example of this kind of police brutality was, of course, the first Mardi Gras march that carried out in 1978 when the police attacked our rights. And Chris Minns is trying to take us back to a legal time before 1978 when we didn't have the right to march and the cops did this kind of thing. Mark Gillespie was there. He was one of the original 78ers, paving the way in the fight for LGBT rights in this country, and he's been a staunch activist in support of the Palestinian struggle for freedom, and he's going to talk today about those links as well. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Josh. Your words are most appreciated, and I acknowledge the previous speakers. My brother who spoke first from Palestine, whose humanity almost brought me to tears. Good afternoon to all of you. It's good that you are here. I would like to acknowledge that we gather on Gadigal land, land that was never ceded. And what I would like to say here is that I support the continued just struggle for sovereignty over this land for Aboriginal people. For nearly 2.5 years now, we have gathered almost every Sunday here at this beautiful spot in the northern part of Hyde Park. We came together because we are witnessing events that humanity has repeatedly vowed must never happen again. After the Holocaust, the world said never again. After Cambodia, the world said never again. After Rwanda, the world said never again. Each time, humanity recognized that when innocent people are being slaughtered, the world not only has the right but the responsibility to speak to act and to refuse silence. Australia has understood this in the past. As a middle power, we invested in diplomacy and conflict resolution. We helped to bring an end to Pol Pot's regime. We believed that human life mattered wherever it was lived. Yet now we are here in 2026, in a world that has become more dangerous, a world where violence is normalized, populations are desensitized, and moral responsibility is increasingly abandoned. I want to briefly explain who is speaking to you today and why. I am a teacher and a social anthropologist. I lived and worked for many years in Africa and the Middle East. I'm now retired from the University of Sydney. I am a foundation member of a grassroots community organisation, the City of Sydney for Palestine. As Josh said, I am also a 78er, and I must say that that does not mean that I'm 78 years old. I'm not quite there yet, but getting close. That 78er generation that I belong to, back in June of 1978, were brutalised by the New South Wales Police in a way that I saw again and experienced and witnessed again on February the 9th, that Monday, a couple of Mondays ago, by the same New South Wales Police. At this point, I want to just speak briefly in Arabic, perhaps particularly to Palestinian Muslims and Christians who are here with us today. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Ahlan wa sahlan. Ramadan Kareem. The words I spoke a moment ago, Ahlan wa sahlan Ramadan, were recently rendered in sand calligraphy on a Gaza beach by a Gazan artist, Faida Ayad, a beach in northern Gaza. He spoke in Arabic, and I translate here back into English. I'm quoting his words. Even if we try to cope with the situation, we can't truly feel Ramadan in our hearts. We are trying to cope with all the devastation and loss. We want to feel the spirit of Ramadan, but we can't truly feel it. What I say to you and to the Australian government is that this is what collective punishment looks like. This is what dehumanization sounds like. When people are denied dignity, denied safety, and denied even the space to grieve, daily life becomes a struggle to remain human. And these conditions now exist not only in Gaza, but across the West Bank as well, where Palestinians are terrorized daily. I was last in Palestine in 2019. What I witnessed there echoed what I had seen before in apartheid South Africa. And I will add, as someone who grew up in Queensland, I saw the same on Aboriginal reserves like Palm Island and other reserves further north up along the Cape and into Torres Strait that I know quite well. What we are seeing here are systems of segregation, expansionism, and domination. I also want to briefly explain for anyone who will listen who does not know Arabic a little about the word intifada and the roots of its meaning. I do so in response to recent political efforts, and you know who I'm referring to here, the influence of Gillian Segal, these recent political efforts to restrict freedom of speech selectively by framing hate speech laws, which are there for only selective parts of our community. The two phrases which are now going to soon go into law in the Queensland Parliament are words which refer to our struggles, particularly this phrase which has gained a lot of attention, globalizing the Intifada. Anyone who understands the etymology of Arabic words, and the Arabic language is an ancient one that is lost back in the mists of time. Its origins lie in the Arabian Peninsula in Yemen. And because of the power of Arabic and the clarity of its semantic intent when spoken, the etymology or meaning of words can be traced back to clusters of 3 syllables, which represent original meaning. The word intifada, as it's come down to us in English, is through the eyes of the Israeli occupiers. They have experienced 2 intifadas, and they use the word uprising, perhaps, or they will use the word rebellion. They will have a word which means violent intent. But that is the narrative that Western and English speakers have now more or less adopted when trying to understand the meaning of that word. Those 3 syllables for intifada are noon, fa, and dah. The original meaning back to the mists of time refers to an ability to get something active, engaged, and alive, to shake off, as some of you might have heard, to shake off almost like a dusty carpet. You want to put life into the carpet again. Intifada, in fact, actually means resistance. It does not mean violent overthrow. Intifada, and I'm warning all of these legislators across the country, the dangerous laws that you're about to introduce can do nothing but harm to our freedom of speech in this country. Now, next Saturday night, in fact, large numbers of people will gather at the southern end of this park for the annual Gay and Lesbian Mardi Gras. It's a celebration of the right to live openly and safely in a diverse, creative and cosmopolitan city. And I'm bloody proud of that legacy. 48 years where a despised minority like mine, once despised, outcast, can have the opportunity to openly and publicly celebrate who we are. Now, that police violence of 78 we have seen again today. And we have also seen, and I have to mention this, over the last several years, an increase in deaths in custody at the hands of New South Wales Police. And I want to mention further the deaths of people in mental distress who, because of a mental health call-out, police arrive and end up either smothering, shooting, or pepper spraying people in mental distress to death. You will not know the statistics and the numbers, but on average more than 10 people in New South Wales are being killed in this way by New South Wales Police. Back in 1978, and perhaps I can just share this quickly before we move on, one of our slogans in 1978, and I hope I can get you to perhaps join in with me. It's a sad thing that I have to stand here in 2026 and this slogan is still relevant. Let me say this slogan that we used in 78, and if you feel comfortable, you're welcome to join in with me. Stop police attacks!
Stop police attacks!
On gays, women and blacks!
On gays, women and blacks!
Stop police attacks!
Stop police attacks!
On gays, women and blacks!
On gays, women and blacks!
So just to move towards a conclusion, when people gather peacefully to demand justice, when they refuse silence, and when they expose uncomfortable truths, power too often responds not with dialogue but with force. What unites us here today is not identity, not background, not even belief. It is a shared commitment to human dignity. It is a refusal to accept that some lives matter less than others. We stand here not because it is comfortable, but we stand here because it is necessary. Silence has never saved a single life. History will not ask what we felt, it will ask what we did when it mattered. I mentioned the City of Sydney for Palestine. It's a group like many other groups around New South Wales, community groups, and I would encourage you to find out which group is in your area. They're all over the state. These are people working together, ordinary Australians coming together, often working at the local government level like the group I'm in has done. I'll just tell you this briefly. In December 2023, the City of Sydney Council, under Clover Law, after a lot of campaigning by us, was one of the first cities in the world to openly and strongly call for a ceasefire in Gaza. We will continue working at all levels, local, state and federal, and I really do encourage you to join any of the groups that are close to you. I will leave you with a saying quickly from the Sufi tradition, which I learned during my time in Syria. Quote, most people are friendly with those who are outwardly similar to them. The wise are friendly with those who are inwardly similar to them. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, we have one more speaker before we take to the streets and march through the City of Sydney. It was outrageous that we could not march last Monday, but we will make good of that and march as loudly as possible today. Before I introduce our last speaker, I just wanted to plug the upcoming student strike for Palestine happening on March 11th, 2 p.m. at Town Hall. If you are a student, if you know someone who is a student at university, at high school, at primary school, everyone has to come out to stand for Palestine, stand against our government's complicity in the genocide, and stand up to the censorship and ties that our university institutions have with Israel. So please spread the word. March 11th, a nationwide student strike for Palestine. Everyone has to be there. So our last speaker today is the wonderful Marine Faruqi, the Green Senator. Make her feel welcome.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. Ramadan Mubarak, Ramadan Kareem. Always was, always will be. We truly do live in an upside down world where police is allowed to punch, to pepper spray, to push, to assault, and to attack peaceful protesters standing up for justice, standing up against a genocide, while the Prime Minister of this country and the Premier of this state offer warm handshakes, a red carpet to a war criminal and someone who has incited a genocide. The absolute violence and brutality that police unleashed on elderly people, on women, on Muslims praying, on literally everyone that was in their side was abhorrent. It was abhorrent, it is completely unacceptable and completely unjustified. I can tell you as a Muslim that this Ramadan, again, is going to be a very difficult one. Israel's genocide in Gaza is ongoing. The apartheid, the oppression, the expansion of illegal settlements, and the starvation and killing of children is ongoing. And in this country, the escalation of Islamophobia, of anti-Muslim hate, without much response from the Prime Minister, has made life extremely difficult for us. I mean, the Prime Minister can't even bring himself to use the word racism when it comes to One Nation. He could not bring himself to say that One Nation is a racist, hateful party. I mean, has he forgotten that the leader of this party, the federal court of this country, found to have engaged in racist behavior? How much more proof do you actually need? If the way Muslims are being treated in this country at the moment, if any other religious group got that treatment, all hell would break loose. That is the honest truth. So it is incumbent upon us. It is our responsibility to call out these double standards and this hypocrisy. Because Muslims in this country deserve to be treated with dignity and respect. We don't deserve to be treated as targets of hate or as punching bags for politicians and their horrific political needs. So let's make sure that if these very basic human rights are not being afforded to us, then we demand them and we claim them. And I have heard from many of my Muslim brothers and sisters over the last couple of weeks. Many of them are scared. We are fearful, but we are also defiant. So let's make sure that we take that defiance onto the streets today and every day after this. Let's make sure that we are never silenced. And let's make sure that Palestine will be free. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Maureen, and we salute Maureen in her efforts to take down Pauline Hanson in the past, put her in her place as a racist bigot she is. All right, everyone, let's take to the streets. We are marching the streets today. Tried to ban us from marching on. We're going to be back doing our usual route through the city. So please, as always, help us carry this giant Palestinian flag. If you're up here, you want to help grab that, that'd be great. We just got to get the sound trolley through to the front, and then we'll be on our way. Genocide is the crime! Free, free, free Palestine! Genocide is the crime!